Hey, welcome everyone to the review of the Soundcore Space One noise cancelling over the ear headphones. Now these are very budget friendly headphones that perform stellar, out of this world. Get it? Space? Stellar? Out of this? No? Okay, never. Let's continue with the review. Anyway, so they're budget friendly headphones priced in at $130 here in Canada, whereas in the United States they're priced in at a very reasonable $100. And there's a lot going for it straight off the bat, even with connectivity. They do support a wired connection using a 3.5mm auxiliary cable, and the cable itself has 3.5mm connection on both ends. One benefit to the auxiliary cable is that you can use the headphones while the battery is dead, although to be honest, it'd be very tough to drain the battery on these. I'll explain later on why, because the battery is just amazing. But in case you are curious, you can't use them while they are recharging. So the second you plug in the USB cable, they'll turn off, but when you unplug it, then you have the ability to turn them back on. The wireless technology is using the new Bluetooth 5.3 capability, so that's great to see. And in terms of range, there's nothing listed anywhere on the website or manual of how far you can get with these. Although what I did was from the middle of my house on the main level down to here in the basement where I am now, I was able to go throughout almost the entire basement before any signal was lost. That was with LDAC codec off, which provides better, longer Bluetooth range, of course. It does support multi-connect, which basically means you connect to two devices at the same time. So you can connect to two computers, two cell phones, one tablet, one cell phone, whatever. But if one of those devices happens to be a tablet, for example, and your cell phone rings, it'll immediately pause the music on your tablet, answer the call, and then resume playing media back on your tablet once again. Now, in terms of how many devices you can keep in memory before you have to repair them to make them learn all over again, again, nothing in documentation from Soundcore, but in my testing I was able to get 4 devices of memory, which is pretty good. Accessories included in the box is the original auxiliary cable that I mentioned earlier, again measuring about roughly 50 inches. There's a USB-A to USB-C cable. Unfortunately, it's not pure USB-C, and that's measuring it at 12 inches. There's no power adapter included in the box, so you have to use your own from, say, your cell phone, for example, or plug it into a computer to recharge the headphones. And there's also a soft traveling pouch and not a hard traveling case, which is not surprising given the inexpensive budget. Despite the reasonable price tag, I gotta mention they look very sleek. My version is the jet black version, which comes with the blue accent color that outlines the rim of the ear cup to the frame connection. Also available is in latte cream, which has a very luxurious appeal to it, and also available in sky blue. It does have a folding design to make it slightly more compact, which is better for traveling. And I usually have a concern with headphones that allow for a collapsing body because it makes the body rather weak. In this case, that's not a concern. Again, despite the inexpensive price tag. Why is that? Because it feels pretty sturdy in the hand. And I think it's because of how much material is used. It's weighing in a hefty 260 grams. Nothing uncomfortable when you're wearing on your head, but that is kind of on the heavier side. And no sacrifices made in material in terms of the construction and firmness of the body, but also in terms of comfort. Wearing them for about 3-4 hours straight, I don't get my ears hot, sweaty, warm, none of that. I feel very comfortable. Also wearing them with glasses, it's very much a pleasure. When I was wearing glasses for an hour and a half straight, no irritation whatsoever. And let's examine why that is. First off is the headband flex. It's not too tight, it's not too loose, it's just right, kind of in the middle sweet spot, if you will. Then you have the ear cup cushioning that is extremely soft, very much a pleasure against the head. And the headband cushioning is surprisingly very thick and soft, again at this inexpensive price tag. Soundcore has done very well with the body design. The headband adjustment is done in notches, it's not a slider, and the ear cups do rotate up, down, forward, and back, which is great for various head shapes. I don't recommend wearing them for working out for 2 reasons. One is that when you put them on, they do slide forward about 1 centimeter or 2 when you're looking down, like say here doing tricep kickbacks. Nothing that'll make the headphones fall off your head, but you will notice it slide ever so slightly. That's not a big deal though. The big thing here, of course, is that they're over-the-ear headphones. They will make your ears sweat like crazy when you're working out, so just my recommendation is don't use them when exercising. Are they dust and water resistant? I think it's highly doubtful, and I say that with confidence because there's nothing in the manual or online listing that they are dust and water resistant. And if you go to the Soundcore website and filter by water resistant devices, the Space One is not listed there. As of now, these headphones are about 3-4 weeks old. There's no official ear pad replacements available. In fact, that might never happen, to be honest. If you look around third-party vendor websites, they're also not available, but I do suspect that's a matter of time until at least third-party vendors get it out. I think they're just too new for them to kind of figure out which design to make. For resting on your neck, well, looking left and right is a bit of a bother. That's because the ear cups are a bit on the wider side. Looking down is also, again, a bit of a bother because how the ear cuffs are a bit narrow here. If you try to be clever and fold them, Looking left and right works much better, and looking down is simply a pleasure because the gap is massive here. So you can keep it on your neck, that's fine, just fold the ear cups in. Going over the controls on the left ear cup, there's a button for powering the device on and off, and holding this button will also activate Bluetooth pairing mode. Above it is a switch between ANC, transparency, and normal mode. ANC being active noise cancelling, which cancels out exterior noise. Transparency mode basically allows the microphones to turn on and have sound pass through into the microphones and into the speakers so you can hear your surroundings more easily. And normal is just simple headphone mode with no special technology on, just the audio ping through. Now that same ANC button, if you activate a feature in the app, which I'll show later on how the app works, it'll activate bass booster mode when you double tap the ANC button. I'll talk about how bass boost performance works as well, again in the audio section of this review. On the bottom of the right ear cup is a button for play pause music or answer and hang up a call. Now while connected to your smartphone, and if that is the main source of your audio, so for example you're not playing content from your computer at the time with multi-connect on, if you press and hold the play pause button for about 2 seconds, it'll activate your smart assistant. In my testing, used Android and Google Assistant, and it worked pretty well. There are a couple of other commands available for the play pause button, but we won't describe them in this video. Let's just carry on. And carrying on, slightly above that button is the button to lower volume. Pressing and holding this button will go to the previous track. And above that is volume up. And pressing and holding volume up will go to the, you guessed it, the next track. So there's one annoying thing about the controls is that play pause is on its own and it's not between volume up and volume down. It should have been right in the middle between those two buttons. I'm not sure why it's floating on its own. It's kind of annoying because sometimes I meant to press and hold the volume down button to play the same track again if I really like a song. Instead of end up activating Google Assistant because it's the play pause button I'm touching by accident. Now in case you're wondering about side tone, it's not available. Side tone basically means that when you're on a phone call, for example, you can hear your surroundings and your own voice to see how loud it might sound for the person on the other end of your call. There is a workaround for this though, is that you just activate transparency mode before calling someone and then you can hear all your surroundings. It's a bit of annoyance because if someone's calling you and you have ANC mode on, obviously you won't be ready for it, so just something to be mindful about. The fact that side tone mode is not available on headphones of this price point is not a complaint, just more of a heads up. It's usually expected in mid-tier priced headphones or higher. One thing that is surprising to see at this price point is autoplay pause. So what that basically means is that when you have your headphones on, content is playing, you're all good. When you take the headphones off, it'll automatically pause the content. When you put the headphones back on, it'll detect that you're wearing them and then resume playback. That is something you usually see at mid-tier pricing, but it's available on these headphones surprisingly. Okay, so noise canceling. It's interesting whenever you have noise canceling at budget headphones like this because most of the time it's more of a gimmick. In this case, they perform surprisingly well. When it comes to low humming sounds, like say being in a car or on a bus, it does suppress a lot of it. Not as good as premium headphones, but it does a lot better than it should at this price point. Honestly, they're more like mid-tier price headphones, say $250 Canadian, which is close to 220 US. So they perform almost double the value that they're actually at. So let's put it that way. When it comes to vocals and stuff, this is weird because with ANC mode off, just wearing the headphones, because the ear cup cushioning is thick and very encompassed around my ears, that alone suppresses a lot of the vocals and noise. Turning ANC on helps a little bit, so people talking around you, it's quite muffled. You can just barely make out what they're saying if you're not playing any audio. So if you're the person that goes on the bus often and you want to listen to news or a podcast, which requires you to be aware of what's being said on the audio, this will work pretty good for you. This actually might be a great option. If you're someone that's going to be traveling on a plane and the engine noise is a lot louder, this is borderline going to be okay for you. You might want to look at mid-tier priced or premium headphones, but all in all, the performance is surprisingly good on these. Now going back to regular headphone mode with no technology on, low humming sounds, they will come through a little easily. Not too bad though. Again, the ear cup cushioning is great at suppressing a lot of the noise, but it will come through. Vocals will come through if they're talking to someone in the same room as you. It'll be hard to hear what they're saying, but you can still make out what's being said in conversation. This is kind of expected with no ANC mode on. Transparency mode is okay. It's kind of what you expect at this budget price point, is that you can make out what people are saying within 10 feet of you. It's kind of clear. It's clear enough to hear what they're saying, but it sounds like you're talking to someone on a Zoom call, for example, on your laptop mic and speakers. Let's put it that way. Anything beyond 10 feet, if you're listening to a PA system or a TV, it's a little difficult at times to make out what's being said. Okay, so battery. These are crazy good when it comes to batteries. So Soundcore's claim is that you'll average about 40 hours with ANC mode or transparency mode on. With ANC mode on, in my testing at just about 50% volume, I was able to get 37.3 hours, very close to Soundcore's claim. When it comes to transparency mode, I actually averaged a little bit better at 39.5 hours. Again, very close to Soundcore's claim, so we can say that their claim is pretty accurate. When it comes to regular headphone mode, they claim a whopping 55 hours of performance. In my testing, I was able to achieve 51 hours, which again is pretty close to Soundcore's claim. And now jumping over to recharge time, Soundcore claims about 2 hours of charge time. I average almost exactly the same, so they're again fairly accurate in that regard. Now the USB-C charging port is located on the bottom of the left ear cup. Okay, so I'm going through my usual microphone test. So everything you hear right now is through the Space One microphone. In a quiet setting, what I do is replicate a noisy environment, play the audio through the camera microphone so you can get an idea of how bad it really sounds. Then I'm going to switch over to the Space One microphone to see if we can isolate a little of the background noise. And then lastly, we're going to do a wind replicated test to see how it performs in a windy setting. Okay, so now we're replicating a rather noisy environment with the camera microphone. It's pretty noisy, as you can tell. Switching over to the Space One microphone, I'm just chatting away. You can get an idea of what the quality sounds like. When I stop talking for a few seconds, you can get an idea of what it sounds like when I'm not speaking. And now finally, a wind replicated test. I'm just moving around to see if you can get the wind going into the microphone. Get an idea for yourself as to what you think in terms of wind noise reduction. Okay, so audio quality. This is like the meat and potatoes of the review, right? It's a bit of a weird mixed bag here, and let me explain. So first off, in terms of codecs, it supports SPC, AAC, and Sony's LDAC codec. So you get some pretty good clarity, right? There's no aptX support, not surprising at this price point, so that's okay. Okay, so audio quality out of the box. Everything is pretty well balanced. You know, highs, mids, and lows. It's pretty even across the board. One is not greater than the other. Unless, of course, you say put on a rap song with heavy bass, it'll obviously accentuate and get stronger, but that's of course based on the audio that you're listening to. So that's cool. Now when it comes to adjusting the equalizer, there's an app, again, I'll mention a show later. The native equalizer performance is a little odd, and I noticed is replicated with third-party equalizers. Here's why. Is that when you bump up the bass, it can get pretty good at this price point. But here's the weird thing. I can't get the bass to work as good as bass booster mode. Remember that button I was telling you about? If you double tap ANC mode, it'll activate bass booster mode. That's a preset equalizer in the app that gets turned on. Bass booster mode always performs better than my custom equalizer setting. Here's the weird thing, is that when I save the bass booster equalizer mode as a template, you can actually save that exact template, and then I replicated it exactly in my custom equalizer, it never performs the same. It is impossible to get the bass that good in a custom equalizer. I have no idea why. For some reason, you have to specifically turn on bass booster mode, which is a custom equalizer built into the app, to get your thunderous roaring bass. And yeah, the bass can get thunderous. It's damn good at this price point. As a bass enthusiast, I'm not complaining. But then it's bizarre that you can't really tune the bass exactly how you should be able to if you're someone who wants to get it right between flat profile and bass booster mode. It's gonna be difficult to accomplish because it just doesn't work that well. Here's another weird thing, is that when I adjust the equalizer to make vocals stand out, I just can't do it. It doesn't matter if I adjust it a little bit or all the way, I just can't get vocals to stand out truly on its own. I just think it's a limitation of the headphones. When it comes to increasing highs, you can get it pretty up there. A lot of the songs will sound a bit more energetic, although some songs, depending on which one it is, will sound a bit too sharp for my ears, so adjusting highs works just fine. Now, if you're looking to use these with glasses on, there will be a slight sound leakage. Nothing you could do about that because they're over-the-ear headphones that kind of wrap around your frame of your glasses. Now, the sound leakage with glasses on isn't too bad, but when you turn on bass booster, you're not going to get the same bass emphasis as someone without glasses. That's because there's so much bass being pushed out. I noticed that a ton of it leaks out, unfortunately, so just something to be mindful about. Okay, so diving into the app, here you have the Space One, so let's dive right into it. And here's where all the meat and potatoes happens. So at the very top of the main screen, you can adjust between the listening mode, which is basically transparency mode, normal mode, and noise cancellation. Now, noise cancellation and transparency mode, if you dive into a bit further, you can adjust how much of the noise do you want to cancel the background. In transparency mode, if you do the same thing, it'll allow you to adjust how clear do you want your surroundings to be. So you have some bit of a customization there, which is great. With noise reduction, I honestly don't notice much of a difference. It's more of a gimmick in my opinion, but it is what it is. Looking over to Easy Chat, there's one function that works pretty darn good. It's you basically touch the left ear cup and hold. what it'll basically do is suppress your music volume and allow you to activate transparency mode so you can have a quick conversation with someone if you want. My only gripe with this is that I wish it paused the music instead, but not a big deal. Speak to enable is a beta feature, and it allows you basically that when it hears that you're talking, will turn the ANC off. Again, I find this more of a gimmicky feature, but that's kind of a given because it's in beta mode. Sound effects is where the custom equalizer is available, and of course you do have the bass boost and other preset equalizers that I mentioned about earlier. Switching over to controls, you have some minor controls here, nothing special. For example, if you double tap the ANC button here, you can turn on bass boost on or off, and then you can cycle between which available options do you want when pressing the ANC button. There's one neat feature here that I find is safe volume. What it'll basically do is while you're playing content, it'll actually try to read how much decibels you're getting out, and then it'll try to recommend if this is within safe listening volume or not. Going over the settings at the top, this is where you can get some firmware updates if you want to look for it. There's different abilities like to turn LDAC on or off. Wear detection is something you do want to turn on or off if you want it. Basically, it's the passive play pause mode that I talked about earlier. And some other features which are not too important to go over. Now, it's weird because for a lot of the points, Soundcore has done great at this price point. The price point and a lot of the pros that it has is just phenomenal. But there's some weird things that I just think Soundcore kind of overlooked, like the button control layout is just bizarre to me. The fact that you can't replicate bass or truly customize this the way you want, but the preset settings work better, should never be the case, but unfortunately it is. But I'll leave it up to you to decide if you want to get these or not. So with that said, this is the end of this video. Be sure to check my social links and website link in the video description. Hit the like button, it does help, subscribe, and thanks for watching.